On a quiet weekend morning in Columbus, Alex decided to use this rare day off to organize the cluttered attic in his home. With spring cleaning beginning, he wanted to free up some storage space for the upcoming summer. The attic was filled with all sorts of old items, from childhood toys to outdated electronic devices. Each item held a memory. As Alex was moving a dusty cardboard box, his eyes were drawn to a small, unassuming box. The box was sitting in the corner with a yellowed sticky note that read, "Julia's old stuff." Curious, he opened the box, and inside lay an old cell phone in a very outdated style. Alex looked at the phone, and an inexplicable emotion welled up in him. The phone was obviously Julia's from a long time ago, and he didn't even know she still had it. Out of an uncanny curiosity, he decided to charge the phone and see what was stored inside. As the screen of his phone lit up, Alex began to browse through its contents. He expected to see some old photos or contact information, but when he opened the text messaging app, he was shocked by what he saw. The text messages were filled with intimate conversations between Julia and a man named Chris, the tone and wording revealing an over-the-top relationship. Alex's heart began to race and his hands shook involuntarily. The text messages spanned a long period of time, from before they were married all the way to the last few years. He flipped through them quickly, hoping to find more clues while trying to calm his excitement. The text messages became more and more revealing and Alex's heart grew heavy. He felt like he had been hit hard and his whole body fell into a trance. The secrets in this cell phone were obviously heavier and more complicated than any old thing. In shock and dismay, Alex realizes that the phone may just be the tip of the iceberg. He begins to wonder if his marriage to Julia was built on a lie. And what kind of entanglement does the man named Chris have with the couple? All these questions and insecurities haunt Alex's mind. After discovering the old cell phone, Alex's state of mind changes completely. Even though he remains calm on the outside, he is in turmoil inside. All those sweet memories he had with Julia now seem to be overshadowed. He begins to wonder if he really knows this woman beside him. In order to get to the bottom of things, Alex decides to launch a secret investigation. He begins to sidestep Julia's old friends and acquaintances, trying to learn more about Julia and Chris' past. Whenever he gets a chance to be alone, he searches the internet for information on Chris, trying to find a connection between him and Julia. However, this is all done behind Julia's back. In his daily life, Alex still tries to maintain the appearance of normalcy. He didn't want Julia to notice his suspicions because he knew that once the cards were shown, their marriage might face an irreparable rift. Therefore, he chooses to remain silent and investigate covertly. As he investigates, Alex's heart grows heavier and heavier. He found some photos and messages about Julia and Chris's past, all of which made him more convinced that there had been an unknown relationship between the two. His heart aches as if it has been hit by a heavy hammer, but he still chooses to move on because he needs to know the truth. During this time, Alex became more and more silent and detached. He always sat silently when he was at home and no longer shared his life with Julia as he used to. And Julia noticed the change in him, but she didn't know the real reason. Seeds of doubt took root in Alex's mind and gradually took over his entire thoughts. He began to doubt Julia's every move and even began to imagine scenarios where she betrayed him. This distrust gradually eats away at their marriage and puts their originally happy family in jeopardy. However, Alex knows that he must find hard evidence to confirm his suspicions. Otherwise, he couldn't easily destroy their marriage. So, he decides to keep digging deeper until the moment he finds the truth. After days of in-depth investigation and relentless tracking, Alex finally reveals the secrets hidden behind the quiet life. He discovers that there is indeed an unknown emotional history between Julia and Chris, and that the relationship is far more complicated and long-lasting than he had previously imagined. By going through Julia's old emails, social media interactions, and some private chats, Alex learns that Julia and Chris' relationship dates back to their college days. At that time, the two were an enviable couple on campus, but eventually broke up for various reasons. However, their connection was not completely severed, especially after Alex and Julia got married. Most heartbreakingly for Alex, he found that Julia and Chris became more frequently in contact with each other while he was hospitalized for injuries sustained in a work-related accident. During that time, He was lying in his hospital bed while Julia was seeing Chris frequently and even staying out at night on some nights. The evidence stabbed into Alex's heart like a sharp knife, and he felt betrayed and disappointed like never before. He always thought he had a happy and fulfilling marriage, but he never realized that there was such a huge secret hidden behind it. The moment the truth was revealed, Alex felt a wave of vertigo and nausea. His trust was completely destroyed and his mind was devastated. He began to reflect on his marriage and pondered how he would cope with this sudden turn of events. However, he also knew that he couldn't just sink into this. He needs to find Julia and talk to her face to face to find out what she really thinks and feels. Perhaps, only then can he find his way out of this marriage mess. So, Alex took a deep breath and decided to go to Julia for a showdown. He knew that it was going to be a difficult conversation, but he had to face it and work it out. No matter what the outcome, he needed a clear answer. After the revelation of the truth, Alex's heart was a mixture of anger and disappointment, but more than anything else, it was an unnameable sadness. The evidence in his hands was heavy, as if it carried all the lies and betrayals in their marriage. That night, he sat on the couch in the living room, waiting for Julia's return. The moment the door opens, Julia walks into the house with an easy smile as usual, but the smile gradually freezes on her face when she sees Alex's serious and cold face. "We need to talk." Alex's voice was low and firm. Julia's brow furrowed lightly as she seemed to pick up on something, but kept her composure as she sat across from Alex. "Talk about what?" Alex took a deep breath and spread the evidence in his hands one by one on the coffee table. "These are the records of the contact between you and Chris, and I want an explanation from you." Julia's face instantly turned pale, but she quickly regained her composure. "These are all old stories from the past. We're married now. None of that matters." "Not important?" Alex's tone held obvious anger. "You were in frequent contact with him while I was injured and hospitalized, even staying out at night, and that's old news?" Julia's eyes began to flicker as she avoided Alex's gaze. "You've got it all wrong. We've only been in touch occasionally, nothing transgressive." But Alex no longer believed her explanation. The trust in his heart had been completely destroyed. "I have enough proof, Julia. Please stop denying it. I can't go on with a marriage like this." Hearing the word divorce, Julia's body obviously shook. Her eyes flashed a trace of panic and reluctance, but was quickly replaced by a kind of determination. "If you really want to get a divorce, then do it." Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Tom also begins to have doubts about Rachel. He inadvertently discovers Rachel's ambiguous messages with another man, which puts him, who was convinced that he has a happy marriage, in deep confusion and pain. Two families, for hearts, begin to go in different directions. Cracks in the marriage have been created, and the shattering of trust has made the originally cozy family cold and detached. And it all stems from the secrets and lies that have been revealed. Ever since he became suspicious of Rachel, Tom's heart has never been at peace. He tries to find out the solid evidence that Rachel has betrayed him, but he is afraid that the truth is really what he thinks, and that the blow would be fatal to him. However, doubts and suspicions gnaw at his heart like a viper, keeping him awake at night. Finally, Tom decides to take action. He begins to follow Rachel, hoping to witness her betrayal firsthand. One day, he follows Rachel to the center of the city, but he accidentally finds her behaving intimately with a man named Mark, and the two of them walk into an upscale hotel, talking and laughing. This scene confirmed Tom's worst suspicions, and his heart instantly hit rock bottom. He felt unprecedented anger and disappointment that the woman he loved so much had really betrayed him. He couldn't accept this cruel reality, but had to face it. After wandering around outside the hotel for a long time, Tom decides to take action. Instead of choosing to rush in and make a scene, he calmly snapped a photo of Rachel and Mark entering the hotel as evidence. He knew that such a betrayal couldn't be easily forgiven, but he also didn't want to let his anger get the better of him and act irrationally. Back at home, Tom sat quietly on the couch, the pictures clutched in his hands. His heart was bleeding, but he knew that he needed to deal with this calmly. He began to think about how he would show his cards to Rachel and how he would face this already broken marriage. As night fell, Rachel returned home. She turned pale when she saw Tom's grim face and the photo in her hand. She knew that her secret had been discovered. Tom, on the other hand, is ready to have a difficult conversation with her, one that will determine the future of their marriage. In the face of betrayal and hurt, Tom chose to face it bravely. Although his heart is cut to the core, he realizes that only by facing the truth can he find a way out. And the direction of this marriage will be revealed in this conversation. After revealing the truth, the relationship between Alex and Julia becomes more and more strained. Despite the pain and disappointment inside, Alex decides to give Julia a chance to explain the puzzling behavior. He hopes that maybe in this last attempted conversation, he can find the possibility of saving the marriage. However, the conversation doesn't go the way Alex expects it to. Julia appears both flustered and stubborn in the face of Alex's questioning. She was unable to provide a reasonable explanation and just kept repeating vague and unconvincing words. Her eyes reveal a deep sense of helplessness and struggle, but more than anything else, it is a kind of avoidance. Watching Julia react like this, the last glimmer of hope in Alex's heart was dashed. He realized that their marriage was irretrievably broken, that those fond memories and promises had been tainted by betrayal and lies. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his agitated feelings, and then made a decision. Meanwhile, Tom is faced with the decision of whether or not to end his marriage to Rachel. He has enough evidence in his hands to prove Rachel's betrayal, and his heart is deeply hurt. However, divorce is not a simple decision. It involves too many emotions and responsibilities. Tom sat on his couch at home, deep in thought. He remembers the good times he had with Rachel and the sweet things she said to him. But he also clearly remembered the ambiguous messages and the betrayal he had witnessed. His heart was full of contradictions and struggles. Eventually, after a long period of reflection and internal struggle, Tom made a decision. He decided to end the already broken marriage because he could not accept the betrayal and deception. Although the decision was heartbreaking, he knew it was a choice he had to make. In moments of determination, both Alex and Tom make decisions that they believe are right. While these decisions cost them dearly, they also realize that it was a choice they had to make for their future and happiness. And these two decisions will change the course of their lives forever. After making their decision, Alex and Julia began working on their divorce. They each hired attorneys and began a long and tedious divorce negotiation. With the assistance of their attorneys, they went through their joint assets one by one and discussed alimony and property division. Both tried to remain calm and rational during this process, hoping to end the marriage in a peaceful manner. Eventually, after several negotiations and compromises, they reached a divorce agreement. Although there was still reluctance and pain in their hearts, both of them understood that this was a necessary step for each of them to move on to a new life. With the judge's pronouncement, their marriage was officially over. On the other hand, Tom also decided to part ways with Rachel after much deliberation. Instead of opting for a lengthy negotiation with Rachel, he directly filed a divorce petition with the court. In the courtroom, he firmly stated his position and decision. Although Rachel had tried to save the marriage, Tom's heart was already cold and he could not accept her betrayal. The court finally granted their divorce petition, and Tom and Rachel's marriage officially came to an end. Although the divorce process was filled with pain and struggle, Tom felt it was the right decision he made for his future. With the end of their two marriages, Alex, Julia, Tom, and Rachel have all started their own new lives. They may need time to heal their inner wounds, but they all understand that only by facing the past with courage can they meet the challenges and opportunities of the future. And these two ended marriages will become an indispensable experience in their lives. With the end of their marriage, both Alex and Tom are faced with the challenge of starting a new life. For Alex, the divorce, while painful, presented him with the opportunity to re-examine his life. He began to put more energy into his work and pursue his personal career. At the same time, he revived some of his old interests and hobbies, such as photography and hiking. To better condition himself, Alex also joined a gym to release stress and anxiety through exercise. There, he not only improved his physical fitness, but also made some new friends and started new social activities. Whenever night falls, he would change into his sportswear, put on his headphones, and indulge in the thrill of sweating. This active lifestyle allowed him to gradually come out of the shadow of divorce and regain his confidence and vitality. In contrast, Tom's situation was less clear-cut. The divorce hit him hard, and for a while he fell into self-doubt and depression. However, he also realized that he could not keep dwelling on his past failures and had to try to come out. So he began to seek the help of a counselor to learn how to face and deal with his emotions. In the process of counseling, Tom gradually learned how to face his feelings and began to try to accept and release his inner hurt. He also began to replan his life. Although there is still a long road ahead, he believes that as long as he faces it bravely, there will always be new hope. With that, both Alex and Tom start a new life in their own way. Although their experiences are different, they are both trying to get out of the past and meet the challenges of the future. In the process, they learn not only how to face themselves, but also how to cherish every day of the present and the future more. After Tom decides to divorce Rachel, he not only ends his marriage, but also inadvertently breaks the relationship between Rachel and Mark. Originally, Rachel and Mark's clandestine affair was going on without Tom's knowledge. But when Tom reveals their relationship and decides to divorce them, the secretive relationship is forced into the light of day. Mark was originally just looking for an exciting affair, but he didn't realize how far things would go. He didn't want to get involved in someone else's marriage breakup, and he didn't want it to affect his life and career. Therefore, after things fall apart, he begins to distance himself from Rachel in an attempt to get rid of the trouble the relationship has caused. However, it seems that fate is not going to spare them. In an unexpected traffic accident, Mark was seriously injured. Although he saved his life, the accident hit him hard. He begins to reflect on his actions and realizes the damage he has done to Rachel and Tom's marriage. Rachel, on the other hand, faces an even lonelier future. She had lost Tom, and she had lost Mark. Her reputation was tarnished in her social circle, and many people began to point fingers and talk about her. She feels incredibly lonely and lost and begins to regret her choices. The end of the marriage not only affected Tom and Rachel's lives, but also sent shockwaves through those around them. Friends begin to re-examine their marriages and love lives, realizing the importance of loyalty and trust in a marriage. And Rachel and Mark's relationship ends for good when Tom steps in and they are forced to face the consequences of their choices. In this story, everyone pays a price for their choices. Tom loses his marriage, but he also gets a chance to start over. Rachel faces a lonely future, but she also begins to reflect on her mistakes. And Mark pays the physical price for his irresponsibility. These consequences and repercussions will follow each of them into the future. Time passes like a white horse, and in the blink of an eye, several years have passed. During these years, everyone has experienced profound changes and growth, gradually stepped out of the shadow of the past and started a new chapter of life. Alex met a lady named Lily during a chance encounter at the gym. She is enthusiastic and outgoing, with a love of life. The two became fast friends and grew close over time. Alex found that Lily not only understood him, but also brought a new energy and joy to his life. Their romance develops naturally and grows deeper. Soon their relationship grows serious and they begin to think about their future together. Meanwhile, Rachel has been wallowing in loneliness and remorse since her divorce. She has tried to reintegrate into her social circle, but has never been able to escape her past. Her friends have all found their own happiness, while she spends the rest of her life in solitude. She often thinks back to the good times she had with Tom, but those are in the past and cannot be undone. On the other hand, Tom is coming out of his divorce after a period of celibacy. He begins to re-examine his life and realizes that life is not just about survival, but also about finding happiness. In a chance encounter, he meets an understanding, gentle, and considerate lady. The two are attracted to each other and soon come together. Tom realizes that this lady not only cares for him, but also brings him the warmth of home. They begin to plan their future together and look forward to a new life. As time goes by, Alex and Lily's relationship becomes more and more stable. They began to think about getting married and starting a family of their own. Eventually, they got married on a sunny day and invited their friends and family to witness their happy moment. After the wedding, they lived a happy and fulfilling life and welcomed 2 lovely children. Tom and his new partner are now married, and their life is quiet but full of joy. Their life is dull but full of warmth and happiness. Tom often recalls the past married life with great emotion, but he knows that those are history. Now he has to cherish the person in front of him and create a bright future together. At the end of this story, we see that each person has found happiness and fulfillment in their own path. Although they have all experienced pain and struggle, in the end they all choose to reconcile and move forward. In their own way, they forgave their past hurts and betrayals and bravely embraced a new chapter in their lives. And this story also tells us, no matter how many difficulties and setbacks we experience, as long as we face them bravely and move forward positively, we will always find our own happiness and fulfillment.